many organizations, the digital landscape is a lot like the Wild West. It's exciting, it's scary, it's full of other people striking it rich, and it's generally lawless. What I see, though, is a landscape of opportunities to directly engage with existing and potential audiences in creative, nuanced, and efficient ways. I hope I can help you make your way in this new frontier with examples from my work here at Jazz at Lincoln Center and the best practices that my team and I follow each and every day. To speak only in terms of social media minimizes the importance and value of digital. It's a large catch-all for the experiences we have with technology, almost always in front of a screen. Videos, slideshows, photos, stories, quotes, interactive content like quizzes and games. Digital content takes many forms, and it appears in the online world. So this certainly means social media, but it also includes your email lists, apps, and your and others' websites. You want to be careful not to limit yourself or your thinking to any one platform. Different audiences congregate on different platforms, and different platforms allow you and your audience to engage with content and each other in very different ways. So as much as possible, you want to try to be channel agnostic. Digital strategy is, at its best, holistic, expansive, and very nuanced and detailed. There's 3 core steps to digital engagement: acquisition, engagement, and conversion. When we're speaking about acquisition, we're talking about gaining social media likes and followers, email lists, and visitors to your website. Engagements are the various steps that audiences can take online: clicks, shares, responses, and on from there. And when it comes to conversion, this is going to be unique for you and your organization. Here at Jazz Lincoln Center, we're thinking about selling tickets, selling other products, and collecting donations. While I'm showing you a linear representation, the reality is that this is more of a web of experiences. It's going to take many engagements before a conversion, and we hope that an audience member doesn't just make one conversion, but will convert many times in their audience journey with us. Now, onto those best practices. The first one is to make your digital toolbox. And the first thing in that toolbox is a goal or goals. You need to know what it is you want to accomplish and where you want to get to in this work. The next thing is a strategy. How are you going to get to the place where that work has been accomplished? It's okay if you don't know exactly, but make a hypothesis. Take your best guess. Write it down. That way, once you've completed the work, you can come back and analyze how correct your strategy was. You can iterate and grow in your learning and experiences from there. The next thing you need is a smartphone. It's the only piece of hardware you truly need to create, edit, publish, and engage with your digital content. Certainly you can invest in more high-tech hardware, but in some cases you're going to need a mobile device for platforms such as Instagram, where that's still the only way to make your upload. The next thing is curiosity. You've got to be curious to do this work. How will one small change, one word in a subject line, the first 5 seconds of a video, how will these changes affect how your audience receives and engages with your work? Other brands' messages and content is all around your audience online every day, and the landscape is always evolving. So your curiosity is the best driver of innovation. Finally, you need time. This is time-intensive work. Doesn't mean it needs to be your full-time job, but you're going to need to be prepared to spend significant time in your planning, creation, and engagement. Now, to illustrate this point and others as I'll do throughout, I'd like to walk you through what we're doing here at Jazz Lincoln Center. Our mission is to entertain, enrich, and expand a global community for jazz through performance, education, and advocacy. The bulk of our work in this space is about growing that global community for jazz. Here at Jazz Lincoln Center, we have a goal that we've called the March to a Million. We've sought to connect with 1 million audience members through digital channels. So for us, that means our social media followers, members on our email list, and our monthly web visitors. When I started in my role here as Director of Audience Development a little less than 2 years ago, we were connecting with about 185,000 people. Just this month, we reached our goal and connected with 1 million people through the digital landscape. And now, as we continue to grow that audience, we'll shift our focus to engagement and making sure that we're supporting this community and helping them now to become advocates for the music and hopefully also Jazz at Lincoln Center. Our core digital strategy is actually quite simple. First, that everyone has a place. We want to make the jazz community as inclusive as possible. And whether you're a jazz musician and you've been in this music your whole life, or you've just discovered one song and you love it and it gives you a special feeling, you're both a part of our community. Everyone has a place in the jazz community. Our next piece is to engage the audience. Very simple. If the content we share and post doesn't engage our audience, we're doing something wrong. And finally, we know that we need to put jazz in context. Jazz is one of America's unique art forms. It has an incredibly rich history and culture, and the music is as vibrant and modern today as it was when it first came into being. That said, we are aware that it is not the most popular genre of music today, and so by putting jazz in context, whether that's a context of current events or of other interests, that we create new opportunities to connect with new audiences and to engage in new ways. Now, very few brands are made for mass consumption. Emulating them is not going to bring you success. You need to embrace what makes you unique. You need to embrace your niche. Your expertise, your special contribution to the world is the value you bring to a relationship with an audience or customer. So in a world oversaturated with products, branding, and content, niche is good. You want to make it work for you. That said, instead of making your niche community exclusive, you want to make it as inclusive as possible, which is very different from making it bland or generic. How do you invite in the novice, the uninitiated, the reluctant or anxious? And how do you do that alongside the confident, existing long-term customers, supporters, and teammates you already have? Forging this type of openness that can connect and speak to these very diverse ends of your audience is key to engaging in the digital space. So on April 1st, instead of posting an April Fool's Day message, Jazz at Lincoln Center posted on Facebook about Jazz Appreciation Month. We put up this graphic with a simple question: why do you love jazz? We got 3,300 likes, 625 shares, and 450 comments. And then we responded to each and every comment. In some cases, we simply continued the conversation. We shared a favorite song, another jazz video. In other cases, though, we invited the commenter to continue their audience journey with us, whether that meant joining our email list in exchange for a download of an exclusive song, or inviting them to purchase a ticket and attend a concert in one of our venues. The single most important thing I can share today is to make emotional connections. Emotional connections drive engagement. This past December, we ran our first concerted online fundraising effort all around this core concept. We wanted to make an emotional connection for the audience member with Jazz at Lincoln Center. We did it through a video about Joan Laren. She was our first and longest standing subscriber. She had recently left New York City and was no longer able to attend concerts in our venue. And so we brought Jazz at Lincoln Center to her. We went upstate to visit her. We brought an iPad, and it was loaded with messages from the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra for Joan. We also showed her on that iPad how she could watch our free concert webcasts. We webcast over 200 concerts every year. Everybody goes for heart, as we did in this example, but there are other emotional connections that engage: humor, fear, indignation, and the cuteness that comes along with pictures of kittens. If you can make kittens work for your organization, I highly suggest it. Now, the second part of this particular campaign was to repeatedly reinforce the call to donate across multiple channels. So through social media, email blasts, remarketing banner ads that followed audience members once they had first visited the landing page we created for the campaign, and paid digital marketing across other platforms, we used all of these tools to target audiences frequently and repeatedly. I'm a really big champion of creative abrasion. Creative abrasion is the idea of constantly challenging ideas from a diversity of viewpoints and opinions for the sake of a shared goal. I value the tension in the creation of ideas. The first thing out of your mouth might be great, but it can be further developed in collaboration with your team and your peers. It's a process that supports productive brainstorming that's neither completely freeform nor destructive. In the case of this campaign, the entire thing was built through creative abrasion. This was an interdepartmental effort, 3 different departments working together, creating not just the idea of the video, but the strategy for the entire campaign and the tagline, which was, "Wherever you are, you'll always have a seat in our house." We really wanted to convey that while we do have 3 venues in our home in Frederick P. Rose Hall in New York City, that our house is expanding and that you can connect with us and join it through our webcasts, through our tour dates, our educational efforts, and many other outlets we're now taking in the larger world. So that curiosity I spoke about earlier is going to bring you to try new things, and new things are inherently risky. But you need to take calculated risks in your work. Taking a solo as a jazz musician is a very risky thing, and yet they do it every day, every time they play. This campaign itself was a risk. It was a new initiative, so we had no history to go on. We didn't know if anybody would donate, but progress requires risk. We were asked to set a goal, the implication being that we should set a financial goal. But instead, we set as our goal to reach more donors than in the previous December. As much as possible, you want to model transparency. We report out to the entire organization on our progress towards that march to 1 million, both with audience growth and engagement every month. When things are good, we celebrate success, but inevitably, not everything is good all the time, and we don't run from that. We don't hide it. We analyze it, we explain it when we can, and we acknowledge it when we can't. I really believe that we've gained the trust we need, both from our peers and from organizational leadership, to do the work, to take those calculated risks and to innovate the way we need to because of this transparency. In the case of this campaign, we didn't just share internally the top-line results, but we shared all kinds of details, who the different donor segments were, how much we spent on marketing, and a variety of lessons learned. Today I'll share with you a couple of those top-line numbers. We made 1 million impressions through this campaign, and we paid for about 600,000 of them. The video was viewed 37,000 times. You want to celebrate success, particularly with digital work, any work that is new or a small piece of what an organization does. It's important to call out and explain what is working. In the case of this campaign, 3 times as many donors gave as in the previous December. It was a huge success. Not only that, but the average donation was much higher than expected, and we saw a 5-time return on investment on our marketing spends. Perhaps the most interesting thing was that more than half of our new donors were not ticket buyers. So we might have thought that our most engaged audience members were our ticket buyers. And it's true that people who attended the most concerts gave the largest gifts on average. But still, half of our donors had never been to a Jazz at Lincoln Center concert. They engaged exclusively through the digital domain. By following these best practices, particularly staying curious, taking calculated risks, striving to make emotional connections, and remaining committed to creative abrasion, Jazz at Lincoln Center has made huge strides over the past 2 years in digital engagement, and we've really found our place in this new frontier. What does success look like for you? What challenges are you having? Leave a comment down below this video, or you can tweet me at Bizmonides, B-I-Z-M-O-N-I-D-E-S. I'd love to engage with you in these conversations. Thanks a lot.